Welcome everyone to today's webinar titled Taking Care of Yourself, Making the Transition from Corrections to Work Education and Daily Life. I'm June Rawl, the Director of Florida IPDAE. We know and recognize that many of our adult education personnel are serving in a correctional setting or facility. I want to let you know that we really appreciate your service and recognize the need you have for professional development that is specific and relevant to those students you serve. I am confident that today's webinar will provide you with an array of activities that can meet the needs of diverse environments such as release programs to low security to maximum security programs. We're really fortunate today to have two facilitators that come to us from Leon County School District, Rochelle Abrams and Ann Mesenhall. The curriculum, strategies, and activities they developed were so impressive that we wanted to share them with all of you today. This free reproducible curriculum that was developed by Rochelle and Ann fosters skills relevant to the GED while addressing the work readiness, education, and life skills needed of our incarcerated and formerly incarcerated adults transitioning into reentry. In addition to these resources provided to you today, keep in mind that there are additional resources available on the IPDAE website that pertain specifically to those serving in those settings. But before we get started, let me go over a few housekeeping rules. Please note that your attendee microphones are muted. If you have a question, and I really do hope that you have a lot of questions, please type them into the Q&A section of your screen. You can type these questions anytime you wish. We will monitor these questions throughout the webinar and make sure that we'll respond to them and comment. If you have any technical concerns, you can type those in as well. As in the past, today's webinar is being recorded. Look for it in the archives on the IPDAE website within 48 hours. Okay, well, I'm going to now turn it over to Rochelle and Ann. I hope that you enjoy the webinar, and I'll come back at the end with some closing remarks. Rochelle and Ann?
Hello, this is Rochelle Abrams, and I just want to say that I appreciate your attendance here today.
Hello, I'm Ann Mesenhall.
And we just want to show you a couple of the things that we're going to try and cover today. We have a curriculum that we've written that's got 19 units, and it's all about taking care of yourself, and it's designed for the corrections facilities. We're going to talk to you about how to adapt it to a variety of settings. We're going to show you a skills chart so that you can see which ABE, GED skills are being taught in each of the lessons. We're going to go over some sample lessons, and we're going to, at the very end, there's going to be some contact information for us, so that if there are lessons you think, oh, I really wish that they could do a lesson on this because I never have time to, you can email us and let us know. So we first started this because a lot of our teachers don't have time to create lessons, to research ways to go through lots of books and find the things they need. So since we had a grant, we decided to create a curriculum. And we're thinking that a lot of you are probably in that position where you're doing a lot of individualized instruction, but you wish you were doing something more interactive, that you use a lot of workbooks because that's all you have. You either spend a lot of time making your own materials, or you don't have the time to do it. You don't have the funds to buy things. You're trying to come up with something at the last minute. And you're wishing you had more materials that would be relevant to your students. And again, this is where we'd like to suggest that you look at this curriculum, that you use whatever is in here, but also if there are other things that you would like to have that's not here, that you email us at the emails at the end so that we can help you create that. This grant, this curriculum was funded through a grant from the Florida Department of Education. Is designed to be used in correctional settings, but it can be used elsewhere. Purpose of it is to help increase public safety and reduce recidivism, because they've found that having more education gives you a 43% lower odds of recidivism. Because it is funded all through the grant, it's totally up there. It's on the web, so you can use it, you can take it. and adapt it in any way that will work for you. We've got lessons in here on reading comprehension, workforce readiness. We've been trying to add all those things that we're now supposed to be using for the for WIOA, and a lot of that is added in here. There's vocabulary development. There's essay writing. There's also all those evidence-based writings that are new to the new GED. And we've tried to get a lot of those skills that the new GED, 2014 GED is required. There's discussion questions. There's poetry, nonfiction. There's a lot of document literacy, how to fill out job applications. There's computer skills. Now I realize that some of you have access to computers in your classroom. Others of you may not have access. There are definitely computer skills in here, but there are ways to use most of the lessons even if you don't have those computers available. We're trying to put a lot more math in. We're adding some more science this coming year. There are internet links which you can either use in the classroom if you can, or you can access them at home or in your office, print it off, and then use it. Most of these lessons are usable in small groups, large groups. You can work with them with individuals. Hopefully you can tailor it and change it to whatever group size that you have. We tried to make them interactive so that they're interesting to your students. They're good for ABE students, GED students, ESOL students, in corrections, or outside of corrections. Anne, who has done most of the writing for this, has used many of these lessons in regular ABE, GED classes. And I think you will find them available up there. So this is where the curriculum is. It's available on the web, and here's the website. And I'm going to take you to this. It's on our website. It's there. We update it as needed. And I just want to show you a little bit about it. One of the objectives was to show you this skill chart. And I want you to see it that here it's giving you the page numbers that we have. It's giving you the name of the lesson. And then it's telling you what skills over here that are being covered. So these are all using maybe Microsoft Word, but if you don't have access to that, you can use them in just writing lessons because all of our students need writing. Now, this doesn't have a lot of math, but we will be talking about some lessons that have a lot more math. There are places where there are presentations and it's getting the students to use PowerPoint. There's some internet research, but again, there are ways to do the lessons for most of it if you don't have access to the internet. There's a lot of reading and comprehension vocabulary lessons, and there's a lot of discussion, and you'll be seeing, if you see down further here, there's a lot more on the evidence-based writing. Wanted to show you, this is a lesson that if you start at the beginning, I didn't. All right, gonna switch back to here, sorry. If I go back, that was the skills chart. We can click on any of these, and these are all live links here, and it takes you right to this unit. This happens to be one on exploring different career clusters, and this one's on architecture. At the beginning, there's a lot of information for the teacher. It tells you exactly what you're going to be doing, what you might need. It has answer keys here for you so that you can look at, and it's all right there. So it's trying to be as user-friendly as possible. Then I'll flip over to here. Further down, there's information and there are worksheets there for the student to use. And it's all there so you can print it off. Again, this was all done by a grant, so you don't have to create anything. It's all there and ready for you. I think we talked about this, that there are all the different skills that there are in the skills chart. And we talked about this.
This is Anne. Hi. This slide has a cartoon that I think really depicts what the re-entry issues are that our students face. So many of the units in our curriculum deal with helping students make that transition to re-entry. So Ray says, a few weeks ago I had nothing. Joe says, Now you have a good job, Ray. Yeah, Joe, and a truck that needs serious work, my father's bills, and his dog, 2 new sisters, a girlfriend I should dump. How did life get so insane? And he says, you became a law-abiding citizen. Our curriculum really focuses on the kinds of issues that sometimes are even more stressful for people to face than life when they're incarcerated. This is an example of the skills chart that Rochelle was explaining. Unit 2 is exploring interests, skills, and talents, which is a unit that focuses on helping students look at what are their accomplishments, what are their learning styles, what's their work history, what are their values, what are their passions. There's a paper version of the old Florida choices in this section that helps students do career exploration. So this is a very comprehensive unit that deals with exploring interests, skills, and talents. Unit 2A we wanted to share with you because this is an example of a unit that really digs deep into what's going to be real relevant for students who are looking for when they are faced with reentry, what kinds of jobs are they interested in? So let's say they've done the career exploration and they find that they have an interest in one of the top 10 career clusters in Florida. We have put together exercises and activities that help them explore those career clusters. So, for example, here's an activity in the architecture and construction unit. Again, we're practicing GED skills by giving students opportunities to do editing and practice writing, editing, and revising, but with the theme of careers in construction. Here's an opportunity for students to work together in pairs and write about what they've learned about construction from the other lessons in the unit. So they put together a little dialogue, have to write it correctly and edit with capitalization, punctuation, and then share it with the class. Another example of an activity in this unit is reading about the day in the life of a person in the architecture and construction field. So they would read about Sheila Jackson. And I've purposely tried in these units to show non-conventional, non-traditional employment. So we have a woman contractor and we have a male daycare teacher and that sort of thing, just to give those options to students and show them what's out there.
Okay, we're back to our skills chart and showing you some of the other things in our lesson. One of the things we really wanted to do is we've put a lot of time into creating this curriculum, and we want you to see that there are lots and lots and lots of lessons in here that you can use, and you can probably never do all of them, but you can pick and choose which ones work for you and for your classroom. On this one, we're trying to pick things that are relevant to our students in corrections. There's one on SMART goals. There's one on mother to son poetry using Langston Hughes. There are some different post-secondary options. We've also got the world of work. We've got jobs for ex-offenders, which you're not going to see in other places probably. We've got filling out applications, trying to find a lot of things that are going to be helpful for our students.
So units 6, 7, 8 all deal with the world of work with a special focus on people who have been incarcerated. Unit 5, 6, 7, and 8. Unit 7, showing off your best self, preparing to interview, really focuses on giving students an opportunity to think about that job interview. How are they going to sell themselves in a way that makes that presentation very positive? How are they going to, so we have model and practice job interviews, role plays, etc. One of the features of this unit is the incarceration explanation speech. There are opportunities for students to practice telling their story, explaining in a job interview what their history is, being honest. I always tell students it's better to be honest and upfront in a positive way than to have the employer find out later and then to get fired for lying, because in most cases they're going to do a background check anyway. So this gives students an opportunity in a safe classroom setting to practice what they're going to say. There's also an opportunity to write a letter to this effect.
Okay, here's just some more showing you more lessons. Here's part 4 on GED and post-secondary success. There's information here on test anxiety, 12 powerful words if you haven't worked on that. Here's a lot on evidence-based writing, where we've tried to pick some different writing topics that would be appropriate and would be relevant to our students. And one of these is getting the right to vote for people with felonies. Any article that we put in here is something that we've gotten copyright permission to use. So if there's something that we put in here, feel free to make copies and use it as you need to. If it's something that we were not able to get copyright permission for, that's when we put in the links, and you might have to print it separately when you're not in your classroom if you don't have the internet there. It doesn't mean that you can't use it. There are different rules for what you can put in a publication that you're putting up on the web and what you're allowed as a teacher to print for your students.
In Unit 10, we give students, oh, this is you, Rochelle, I'm sorry.
Go right ahead.
In Unit 10, we're giving students the opportunity to really look at what their options are in post-secondary. So you might, for example, have a class of students who are really close to getting their GED, or who may even already have their GED. These lessons really help them think through what college would look like, what their various college options are, and then how to get organized and plan their time and take notes and do research. They could do a research paper while they're in your class, so that when they do finally leave and hopefully enroll in college, they will have had that opportunity to be prepared for that.
We want to switch back to a minute to the curriculum and some of the evidence-based writing. Wanted to show you that there's lots of information here for the teacher and how they can help the students write. Sorry about that. Here is what it is for the students, the student pages, where we have some constructive responses. We have some things to start them off. Now, do they have to use this? Absolutely not. But these are just a couple different ways that they might organize their thoughts before they start doing the writing. And there's one that I really like. It's read like a detective and write like a reporter, so that they're reading, they're looking for all that evidence. Some of them, you know, they've been through some court trials. They might know that term evidence, and that they're looking for that evidence, and then they want to write that down so that they can share that with others.
In part 5, we have quite a number of units that deal with the kinds of life skills that I would venture to guess that all of our ABE-GED students face, but particularly those students who are incarcerated. This gives them a chance to be thinking about what it means to lead a healthy lifestyle upon release. So we have Unit 11, taking care of yourself, dealing with stress, lots of activities related to taking good care of yourself and finding support. Unit 12, taking care of yourself and staying healthy. An example of an activity in this unit is looking at what kind of physical activity is necessary to maintain a healthy weight. So this is a kind of a science lesson, it's a life skills lesson, it's a reading activity. So they might do the reading in small groups and then answer the questions together. And along with that, let's look at the activities that people do for exercise And then let's calculate how many calories they are burning and which are the better exercises for burning calories. So again, it's a math activity, it's a science activity, and it's really relevant to leading a healthy life. In Unit 13, we're looking at eating right, lots of activities related to nutrition and all the vocabulary of nutrition, and shopping in a healthy way, comparison shopping, looking at calories when we're shopping, that sort of thing. In Unit 14, this unit really deals with the whole idea of healthy relationships, how to communicate, how to express ourselves nonviolently, how to know when a person is treating us in an abusive way, and what are some strategies we can use to get out of that situation or to help someone we know who's in a violent situation. One activity in this unit is you might have seen the power and control wheel. We have the power and control wheel in here, but we also have the equality wheel. Go to the next one. And this activity gives students a chance to look at scenarios, typical scenarios that couples might be in, and to identify what are some of the positive things that these couples are doing. What are some of the qualities that constitute nonviolent equal relationships? And we have scenarios that go with the power and control wheel as well, so that again, students can really, in an academic safe setting, might be doing some introspective work and looking at their own relationships and what kind of dynamics are there and how can they have positive experiences.
Okay, so here you can see at the top that we have some on pregnancy, we have some on birth control. Some of those are a little explicit, so you might want to look at them before you start teaching them. We also have some on different social skills. We've got iMessages, we've got how to communicate effectively in the workplace, how to resolve conflicts, how to deal with your anger issues. So there's some really good things for students to look at there. We have a lot of lessons on drugs, which some of our students need, and lessons on parenting, which might be helpful for some. And there are also things on there in how to parent while you're incarcerated, how to communicate with your child while you're still locked up. Here we have some on dealing with discipline, how to have authority with your kids, but not with hitting them, how children learn, taking advice. We have some on housing and on homelessness and what they can do, how to read a lease, how to find a place to live after they've been released. We're trying to give them a lot of information so when they're transitioning out of being in jail or in prison, that they know what to do and they've had some experience working with that. Okay, so this one has a lot of math in it. I said that we have some units with a lot of math and some that don't. You can see there's a lot here. There's vocabulary still though, so we're talking to them about writing and about the words they need to know. There's a lot on budgeting, a lot of different information there for them to work with. One of the lessons is, does your money go up in smoke? How much money do you spend if you're smoking? I mean, you can ask the students, how much does a pack of cigarettes cost? How many packs do you smoke a day? If you're smoking 2 packs a day, and there's 7 days a week, how much money are you spending? And we're not going to tell them what they should and what they shouldn't do. We want them to make some educated decisions, to think about how much money they're actually spending on those cigarettes or on the alcohol. Or a lot of us need to maybe look at that junk food. How much are we spending there? But just a chance to look at that, to do some math, to think about what they're spending their money on. This one is on payday loans. We have way too many people that might be spending money getting a payday loan because they're running out of money and don't realize how much money they're paying back. They think it's a great idea. I've got, they'll give me this money right away and I can use it to pay my bill, or I can use it to buy that great new outfit that I want, or I can use it to fix my car. but then they might be paying it back at an exorbitant rate of interest, and they need to think about that. But this is giving them something to read about it, something to think about, some math to do, talk about some of those percentages. You know, I think another one is we have one on credit cards, and how much money are you really spending on that item that you think is on sale, but once you don't pay it back and you're paying that interest, how much money are you spending on that?
So I think you can see, this is our final unit, but I think you can see from these lessons that we're teaching skills very relevant to the GED at whatever level students are working, but we're also focusing on the kinds of life skills that are really relevant for them when they're released. This unit is one I particularly like because it's an opportunity for students to do some creative writing. There are two parts to it. One is writing a poem about a historical person, and the other is writing an autobiography poem. So, show you that. So, for example, this poem about Frederick Douglass, it follows a template based on doing some research about an important historical figure. So you might, for example, have every student choose an important person in African American history during February, or an important woman in March, and then to compose poems based on their research. And here's the template that goes with that. So they fill in the blanks after they've done their research, and they've essentially created a poem. I like to follow that lesson with having them do an autobiography poem where there's a whole long list of adjectives in here as well, where they come up with interesting words to describe themselves. And again, if they type this or they write this up, they've again created a poem that they can share with the class, or you might decide to publish whatever the students have written. The other thing that goes with this unit is an autobiography package. So every page of this package, I think it's about 20 pages long, is a prompt about some aspect of your personal life and your life history. So if you took time to do this in class, you did a half an hour a week, or you did let students choose if they wanted to do it, they would come up with a pretty fully developed autobiography. And again, if they had an opportunity to type it, you could publish it and share it. It would be a keepsake. So that's just kind of a fun way to practice your writing skills in a way that's very meaningful.
Okay, one question that's been asked is that they're liking what they're seeing and they want to share it, but that their boss will ask if the curriculum has been approved by the Florida Department of Corrections. And, you know, I know that we've had a lot of people we've presented this curriculum at conferences, and we've had people come from the Department of Corrections. Have I ever gotten anything that officially says that it's been approved by them? I don't know that we have. But nobody has said, no, don't do that. We don't want our teachers using that. So maybe that's something that we can look into and get back with you. I think that June Rawl and IPDAE has everybody's email, so we can try and get that question answered and come back to that.
Any person who's participated, though, in our sessions from Department of Corrections has been positive. So we're feeling pretty good that that's going to be okay. We have a few minutes to share with you a couple of other lessons that we particularly like. Again, just to kind of highlight what some of the aspects of the curriculum are. We'll leave time for questions at the end, but we thought we'd just point out a couple of other lessons. This lesson on meditation and relaxation is in the Unit 11, Dealing with Stress. I've used this particular activity with my class at the Leon County Jail, and students came back after we tried it in class, and they went back into their pods and tried it and came back very positive about how it really helped them to cope by learning very basic meditation techniques. we have up above that, there's also opportunities to do peaceful visualization. Again, this is a strategy that can be very powerful to give people a sense of control over a kind of a tough environment. And then the next page is, in every unit, we have a words of wisdom section where we've collected 10 or 12 quotes from either famous people or people they may never have heard of, but that are relevant to a certain topic in order to get them to think about things in a different way. So after they read some quotes, if you go to the next page, there's an opportunity for them to reflect on the quote. Pick a quote and say why it has meaning to them, and then talk about a time, in this example, that nature, for example, has been healing for them.
Another lesson we wanted to talk about is parenting, and it's very hard to parent from the jail. I remember we used to have a family literacy grant, and I would do some parenting lessons in the jail, and some of them didn't want their kids to know they were in jail, so they didn't have any contact. Some of them didn't know how to have that contact, and some can and some can't. But if they can talk to them, call them, write them letters, it's a good idea. I found that when I taught these parenting classes, I got lots of good discussion. I had them reading lots of things. When Anne taught them, she had them doing lots of writing. And these are some of the poems that she got them to do while they were in jail about what they felt about their parents and how they wanted their children to look at them. So there's, some of these that are really easy. If you give them a word like parenting, they can come up with a word for each of it. And that's a relatively easy, non-stressful poem for those of us that aren't writers. But for those that are, it gives them an outlet so that they can think about what they want to do as a parent. They can share that with their children, or they can just have it for themselves.
Then on the next page is an opportunity for them to write a poem. So they've read poems that other students who are incarcerated have written, and then they write their own. And throughout this unit and others, there's writing by other formerly incarcerated or incarcerated folks. So there's a sense of community that's built by reading the writing of other people who've been in the same situation. And I'll say in this unit as well, as Rochelle was mentioning, there's a template for a letter that they might write to their children. So again, as a writing activity that's about as relevant as it gets, there's a model in there for that.
It's a hard discussion to have with their children, so it's good for them to have something to help them start with.
We wanted to share with you some lessons from Unit 17, which is the Finding Housing and Preventing Homelessness unit. I wanted to point this out because these are questions that have to do with a very well-known poem called Madam and the Rent Man by Langston Hughes. Now, Langston Hughes' estate doesn't let you publish his poetry and distribute it widely, but it's certainly available online for a classroom. So we have links here, again, that you would have to go to a computer at some place at home or in an office to print this poem out. But then there are questions to go with the poem. And it's powerful, and there are quite a few Langston Hughes and other poems in here. This is a poem that we did get permission from this writer, Robert Flanagan, about the experience of being evicted. Again, we're exposing students to literature that they're going to find on the GED, but it's relevant to some of the topics that are relevant to reentry.
Here's another one that comes from communications on the job. And so when they're getting out, or many of them have jobs while they're still incarcerated, so they can use these things then. But why are you out today? What kind of this is giving a lot of excuses that people come up with, gives them a chance to talk about it and see which of these would be acceptable to you. You know, if this is a religious holiday for me, that's maybe an acceptable excuse, but you should have known that 2 weeks ahead of time and let your boss know about it before then. You know, I had a fight with my spouse and I'm too upset to go to work. Is that something that your boss is really going to care about? No, he wants you to be at work on time. So talking about different excuses people come up with and how that's going to work and how they think that a boss is going to interact with, is going to feel about that, is something good for them to do. Here's one, different situations. So they're reading, they're discussing, they can write about it, but different situations that they can think about and how they should react to it, how their boss might react to it, and some opportunities to write about it a little bit. So, and how would you deal with these different stressful situations? Because if you're put in that position, then you don't have time to stop and think. So if we can get them to think about some of the situations ahead of time, then it's going to give them a way to be able to pull on that information later when they're in that situation. So I have another question wanted to share. Is this curriculum being made available via a PDF download? And absolutely, it's online and you're welcome to print any of this. It's at aceleon.org/transitions. And we would be glad to have you print it out and use it any way you want. We have some teachers that take this and they want to teach a unit. Maybe you're just going to teach that unit on the autobiography that we talked about. You can print that out and have it together in a folder and give it to each of the students and work on that unit. Maybe you're working on employability skills and you want to pull, 3 of these lessons from this unit and 4 lessons from this unit. You can do that and have that all together and print it out and ready to use and not use it online. But it's absolutely available for you to print out and use as you wish. Somebody's asking if we can send the link to print the presentation. We absolutely can. It's aceleon.org/transitions, and I'll go back to that slide in a few minutes. We're here for any questions if you have questions. And I'm going to click back, so you may not want to look for a minute because I'm going to click back so that you can get to that page that has the link on it. Okay, should be there. There we go. Okay, so it's www.aceleon.org. That's our Leon County Schools Adult Ed webpage, and then /transitions, and that will take you straight to that link that is right here. And once you get to it, there's go up. This is the front that the beginning that you'll see, and as you see, there's lots and lots, and these are all live links when you click on them that will take you to the curriculum, and you're certainly welcome to print it out if you choose to.
We got a nice note here from someone in California. We're glad to see that we've reached out to the West Coast, who said that she's planning to share her materials with the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation in California. Someone in Gadsden County, one of our neighbors, is with us. Thank you for your comments. Any other questions that we can answer at this point?
I will say that, we're very glad that you're all listening, and that we hope that this curriculum will be useful to you and will so that you can use it. If you have any questions, at the very end, we're going to show you our emails. Mine is abramsr@leonschools.net, and we'd be very glad to have you email us, ask us questions. They will be at the end of this webinar. And now we're going to turn it back over to June Rawl.
Well, I really want to thank you, Rochelle and Ann. This is such great material, so I really compliment your work, and I know that the field is really going to be able to use this. But before we close out today's webinar, we would just like to take one more minute of your time to answer 3 short questions, which now appear on your screen. So if you don't mind, go ahead and just give us your quick responses on those 3 questions. We'll give you a minute. Okay, well, thank you so much for your feedback. Let's pull up the contact information for Ann and Rochelle one more time so you can see their email address, that you can reach them directly, or you can contact us at IPDAE and we will be able to give you the information that you're looking for. So again, I hope that you'll join us on our next webinar that's scheduled for June 27th. We'll do an end of the year review of all the great stuff that's been implemented this year. And until then, we wish all of you a great rest of your day, and thank you so much for joining us today.